The term upper class refers to the pinnacle of society. The term capitalist class or just the rich is used to refer to people who are wealthy and powerful. The political, economic, and media institutions of the nation are heavily influenced by this social class. Politicians, wealthy heirs, top business leaders like CEOs, prosperous venture capitalists, and celebrities are considered to be members of the upper class. If they acquire significant influence and wealth, some well-known and senior professionals may be included. But before we get deeper, if you are new to this channel, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss any of our videos. So, without further ado, let's get started. Physicians, dentists, lawyers, accountants, engineers, military officers, economists, urban planners, university professors, architects, stockbrokers, psychologists, scientists, actuaries, and optometrists are some of the other professionals in the upper middle class. The most distinctive characteristic of this group is their source of income. While most people and households receive their income from salaries, the upper class heavily relies on investments and capital gains. The upper socioeconomic class may be defined as households with a net worth of $1 million or more, depending on the class model being used. Sociologist Leonard Beagley asserts that all households with a net worth of $1 million or more are considered wealthy, classifying the wealthy into two groups, the wealthy and the super wealthy. This is contrary to the majority of contemporary sociologists who believe that only 1% of homes are upper class. About 5% of American families are wealthy, and the majority of their assets are held in home equity. Other contemporary sociologists, like Dennis Gilbert, claim that this group belongs to the upper middle class rather than the upper class because their wealth is significantly below the top percentile and their standard of living is primarily derived from income generated by their occupations. In Beagley's opinion, the super rich is those who can support themselves solely on their fortune. In the United States, this group makes up about 0.9% of all households. The definition of the super rich by Beagley and the majority of other sociologists is similar. For instance, in 2007, 5% of the total income of the United States went to top 1% of the population, defined as those with an annual income of $9.5 million or more. If you've ever wondered what it takes to be wealthy, here it is, the 15,000 families that have been dubbed the richest of the rich. A Pew Research survey found that being upper class requires a yearly income of at least $100,000. Estimates of the amount of income required to be regarded as wealthy vary across regions and communities, even though the cost of living varies greatly across the nation. For instance, suburban residents claim that compared to people who live in urban or rural areas, it takes more than $100,000 to be considered wealthy in their community. Notable characteristics of the upper class are: number 1. Wealth. In terms of wealth, the upper class is typically defined as the top 1 or 2% of families. As a result, the upper class makes up only about 2% of the population, while the bourgeois, middle, and lower classes make up the majority of the population. Despite this, the wealthy have the potential to own more money than all of these social classes combined. Naturally, a nation's tax policy plays a role in this, as high taxes on the wealthy can prevent this from occurring. Number 2. Income. The wealthy typically invest their money as productive capital to generate income and preserve it. Additionally, those who succeed in this field can leave a legacy for future generations. Number 3. Labor. The wealthy may be able to support themselves solely on their capital and are not required to work. Even so, a lot of wealthy people might choose to work. Number 4. Old money and new money. The term old money describes affluent, upper-class families of at least 3 generations worth of wealth. Nouveau rich, on the other hand, describes people who have only been wealthy for 1 or 2 generations. The skills required to make money or inherit money can occasionally be different from the skills required to sustain wealth over time, especially when there is a constant temptation to overspend and people approach you with investment pitches. Old money families are frequently frugal and financially responsible. Number 5. Capitalization of culture. Cultural capital is the ability to influence culture. The social norms, expectations, and shared experiences of the upper class make it easy for them to identify with one another in conversation. For families with a long history of wealth, this is especially true. For instance, the upper class of a nation often vacations in the same locations, sends its children to the same schools, and hangs out with the same crowd. Knowing wealthy people helps these families maintain their wealth by opening doors to a variety of opportunities in life, including positions, employment, titles, honors, and favors from those in authority. Number 6. Social position. Your social position is determined by the respect that you receive from others. The upper class typically enjoys high social standing and may exert considerable effort to raise the social standing of their family. For instance, by securing admission to Ivy League colleges for their kids. Number 7. Signaling. Gaining social status through overt displays of wealth, intelligence, coolness, or youth is known as signaling. For instance, buying a supercar communicates wealth, coolness, and youth, whereas going to high-profile conferences communicates knowledge. Every social class has a propensity for signaling, but only the upper class has the resources to use it for good. In general, signaling is detrimental to long-term wealth preservation, and some old money families avoid it out of moral propriety. Number 8. Counter-signaling. Counter-signaling involves displaying composure, assurance, and understatement to convey social standing. Consider a wealthy person, for instance, who never discusses their wealth with their co-workers because they are already aware of it. Counter-signaling, when done correctly, is more powerful than simple signaling and should not be confused with sincere modesty. Number 9. Spending in the public eye. For some members of the upper class, excessive consumption is a problem. Some people are more practical. They make quality purchases without going overboard. Number 10. Maintain public appearance. The focus of upper-class social life is frequently on supporting the arts and culture as well as charitable causes. This could be viewed as a type of obvious conservation. Number 11. Values. A society's upper class might adhere to similar ideals. Part of the cultural capital required to establish connections with the upper class is the sharing of these ideas, or at least claiming to. For instance, it is very common for the upper class to have a strong sense of global citizenship. Number 12. Invest in relationships. Relational capital refers to the people you know and the potential for these connections to increase in value in the future. For instance, the wealthy might try to take advantage of their extensive network of powerful contacts for both personal and professional gain. Number 13. Political influence. Using their wealth and social capital, the upper class has a collective influence on politics. For instance, they might give money to political candidates to sway legislation. Number 14. Rent-seeking. The upper class occasionally uses its political influence to demand a higher income share without adding more value. Many nations have historically had an aristocracy that was a rent-seeking class that profited from public lands and taxes without producing value-added goods and services. This is known as rent-seeking. The wealthy today may pressure the government to enact anti-competitive policies like tariffs, pricey government contracts, lower taxes for the wealthy, special tax treatment, liability protection, rights to public assets, and subsidies. And that's it for this video. Before you go, don't forget to like,
comment, subscribe, and click the notification bell for more videos like this. Thanks for watching and see you next time.